Now, we've looked at variables in previous units, so we know we use them to store information. So we've used them to make random numbers. Now, for our animation unit, which is what comes after this, we're going to use it to make things move. Now, right now, in your code, if you wanted to make this smiley face move, you would have to go and you'd have to manually change every single one of these numbers. That takes a while to do. However, if you store a value, for example, if you create a variable for the x position, and you use that variable for every single one of the x positions in your drawing really quickly, by changing one single number, you can get the whole thing to move at once. And if you can do that, then you can start to put this into a loop, and you can start to make it do cool things like follow your mouse or move on its own. Now, adding your variables, quite simple to do. So the first thing you have to do is you have to create your variable. In JavaScript, the keyword var allows you to create it. You then give it a name. That name needs to be really descriptive, so you know what's going to put it, what you're actually going to use it for. So x position, xpos, is going to store all of the x positions for our values. Now, I'm thinking ahead. I don't want to do a huge amount of math. I notice that most of my shapes are drawn in the center of my screen, which is 200. So I'm going to set the value of x position to 200. Now, you have to create your variable at the top of your program. Otherwise, well, if you go to use it, it's not going to work. You're going to get an error because you're trying to use something that doesn't actually exist. So then you just need to go through and use that variable in every single position that has an x. And if you forget, you just go to the documentation and it'll give you a hint. So an ellipse, it's the first number. Triangle, though, it's first, third, and fifth number. If we look at fill, we know we can skip it because there's no x position at all. Now, x position has a value of 200, which means that when the computer reads the variable x position, it grabs the value 200. So in that first ellipse, well, x position has a value of 200, and this has a value of 200. Since they're the same value, I can just put x position, because it's the same value. In our eyes, however, we have to do a tiny, tiny bit of maths. So here, it's 150. Now that 150 is smaller than 200. So if I put my x position, you'll see that my eye moves. So 200, which is what's stored in our variable, minus 150, because that's the original value, equals 50. So that means that we've got 50 extra. So all we need to do is we take away that 50, because 200 minus 50 is 150. That's your original value again. So we do that because it's smaller than our variable. Here, we've got the opposite. We've got 250. So if we just put x position, you'll see it moves back to the center again because that's 200. So we do a little bit of math again. So let's do the, because it's bigger, we know that 200 minus 250, minus 200, that gets my 50 because it's bigger than. You can also go the other way. If you want to be consistent, you could do your variable minus what's stored on it, and it gives you a value of negative 50. I generally just put the bigger value first because that tells you what the number is. And then you can really easily figure out if you're meant to be adding or subtracting. So it's supposed to be adding because 200 plus 50 gives you 250, which is your original value. So you can see it's back to where it should be. That said, if you put in the wrong value, it's not a big deal. It just goes to the other wrong spot. You can see you've been incorrect. You just need to fix it. If you test it, you can see you've missed some lines of code. So all you need to do to add variables to your code is you just start at the top, only put it into your x positions, and just work your way down.